Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. Something that can shift your direction, sharpen your vision, and quiet the noise of life. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything starts falling into place. Now, I'm not saying isolate yourself or go live in a cave. I'm saying tune in to you. Focus on your growth, your habits, your mindset, your character. You see, too many people spend their energy watching what others are doing, trying to impress the world, chasing validation. But here's the truth. When you stop all that noise and look inward, you begin to evolve. And when you evolve, you don't need to announce it. Silence becomes your power. Growth doesn't need a megaphone. It shows in your results, your discipline, your peace. Focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you point it at gets clearer, gets stronger. So imagine what happens when you turn that focus on yourself. Your health improves. Your mind sharpens. Your confidence grows. Your decisions become wiser. And that's when the world starts responding differently to you. Not because you shouted, but because you shifted. Remember, silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you're listening, observing, learning, and winning quietly. So from today, don't chase noise. Chase mastery. Let your focus be your announcement. Let your results speak for you. And let your silence build an inner power that can't be shaken. Because when you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything slowly but surely starts falling into place. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When you do, you start creating a life, not just a living. Discipline your distractions. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Don't announce every move. Let your progress be discovered, not declared. Personal development is a quiet revolution. The world notices when you change, even if you don't say a word. Energy flows where attention goes. Focus on you and watch everything around you respond. People respect growth they can feel, not growth they're told about. Every moment spent on gossip is a moment stolen from your greatness. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, except the person in the mirror. The quiet seasons are where champions are made. Train in silence, shine in public. When you stop competing and start creating, everything begins to align. You know, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of earning a paycheck. Wake up, go to work, finish your tasks, come home, and do it all over again. And while there's nothing wrong with working hard at your job, in fact you should, there's something even more important. Working hard on you. See, your job will make you a living, but working on yourself, that makes you a fortune. Your job may give you a title, a desk, a salary, but working on yourself gives you options, freedom, and the ability to rewrite your story. So many people spend years climbing the ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Why? Because they never stopped to ask, who am I becoming in the process? The real success is not just in what you're getting, it's in who you're becoming. When you invest in your mindset, your skills, your habits, you're building something that no one can take from you. Not the economy, not a boss, not a crisis. The world can take your job, but it can't take your growth. So read the books, learn the skills, build the habits, sharpen the mind, work on your attitude, your discipline, your perspective. Because when you grow, everything you touch grows too. Your relationships get better. Your decisions get wiser. Your future gets brighter. Don't just be a better employee. Be a better human, a better thinker, a better planner, a better doer. That's how you move from survival to significance. Remember, your job is what you're paid to do, but your growth, that's what you were made to do. And the moment you start putting in that inner work, the outer world starts to follow. That's the secret. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and you'll never be the same again. One of the greatest challenges in life isn't lack of time. It's the lack of focus. We all get 24 hours. The difference between those who build a life and those who just pass through it is what they do with those hours. Distractions are everywhere. They come dressed as entertainment, as urgent emails, as social media, as comfort. And if you're not careful, they'll steal your time, your energy, your future, one scroll, one click, one excuse at a time. You don't manage time by squeezing more into your day. You manage it by protecting your focus, by guarding your attention like it's gold, because it is. You have dreams to chase, goals to reach, a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. But you'll never get there if your attention is always being hijacked by the noise around you. And here's the thing. Not every notification deserves your response. Not every invitation deserves your yes. Not every moment requires your presence. Discipline is saying no to the moment so you can say yes to the mission. It's choosing to stay in the gym when the couch is calling. It's reading the book instead of flipping through channels. It's putting the phone down so you can pick your future up. And when you start to master that, When you stop letting every little thing pull you off course, life starts to align. You start moving with purpose, not pressure, with intention, not impulse. So take control of your focus, protect it, train it, and when distractions come knocking, and they will answer with discipline, because the life you want is waiting, just on the other side of what you're willing to ignore. There's something special about moving in silence, about building without broadcasting, about growing without needing to prove anything to anyone. See, the moment you start announcing every step, you invite opinions, distractions, and sometimes even resistance that doesn't belong in your journey. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. You need to do it. Success doesn't need a press release. It needs consistency. It needs work. It needs patience. Because the more you talk, the less you tend to do. And the ones who are really moving mountains, they're too busy to explain how. Think about a tree growing underground before it breaks the surface. It doesn't shout. It roots itself deep, quietly, until the time is right. And when it does show up, it shows up strong, grounded, and unshakable. So keep your head down. Do the work. Improve the craft. Master the habits. Let the results speak. Because they always do. When people notice the change in how you carry yourself, how you think, how you handle life, that's when you've made a real move. There's power in keeping certain things to yourself. Your plans, your goals, your struggles, your next steps, they're sacred. Guard them. Let your life unfold in action, not in noise. You don't owe the world a status update. You owe yourself the discipline to follow through. Because at the end of the day, the loudest voice in the room is rarely the strongest. Strength is silent. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't need to convince, it proves. Personal development. It doesn't start with applause. It doesn't begin on a stage. It begins in silence. In the quiet hours when no one is watching. In those moments when you choose to read instead of scroll, reflect instead of react, act instead of excuse. It's not loud. It's not flashy. And it's not overnight. You see, personal development is a quiet revolution. It's an uprising inside of you. It's the slow turning of the tide, the steady sharpening of the mind, the gentle reprogramming of habits that once held you back. No fireworks, no fanfare, just the daily decision to get better. The real change. It happens when you decide that the person you are today is no longer enough for the dreams you hold tomorrow. And this revolution, it's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's not about fixing what's broken. It's about uncovering what's been buried under years of distractions, doubt, and delay. It's about digging through your own mental clutter and discovering the strength that was always there. You wake up one day and start making small decisions. A walk instead of the snooze button. A chapter instead of a complaint. A deep breath instead of a quick reaction. And none of it feels dramatic. But oh, it's powerful. Because over time these quiet victories stack up. And without even realizing it, you're thinking clearer. You're standing taller. You're speaking with more purpose. People start to say, you've changed. But they didn't see the early mornings, the hard choices, the silent battles. They only see the glow that comes after the grind. You see, revolutions don't always need noise. Some happen with a whisper, with a pen, with a promise to yourself that you will rise. So start your quiet revolution. Work on your mindset. Feed your spirit. Discipline your actions. Learn relentlessly. Forgive often. Expect more. Not from others, from yourself. Because when the inside changes, the outside has no choice but to follow. And that, my friend, is the most powerful revolution of all. You want to change your life? Start by changing what you focus on. Because there's a simple truth that governs every success story, every comeback, every transformation. Energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you give your attention to, you feed. You give it power. You give it momentum. And over time that thing, whether it's good or bad, starts to grow. If you focus on problems, guess what happens? You get more problems. You feel heavier, more overwhelmed, more stuck. Why? Because your energy is pouring into the wrong soil. But if you shift that same focus, if you start putting your attention on solutions, on learning, on progress, you suddenly feel stronger, clearer, more in control. Same situation, different outcome. All because you chose to direct your energy differently. And this applies to every part of life. You focus on what you don't have, and you feel lack. You focus on what you do have, and you feel gratitude. You focus on what you go wrong, and you invite fear. But you focus on what you can do, even if it's small, and you build courage. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Spend it wisely. Guard it fiercely. Because whatever has your attention has you. And the dangerous part, most people don't even realize where their attention is going. They drift. They react. They scroll through hours of other people's lives, then wonder why their own feels so empty. They complain about circumstances, but never look at where they're placing their focus. But the moment you get intentional about it, things change. You wake up and decide, today, I'm going to focus on progress, on learning, on growth. Suddenly your energy aligns with your goals. Your actions become clearer. Your time becomes more valuable. And life starts to respond. This is why clarity is power. Because when you know what matters, distractions lose their grip. When your attention is fixed on your purpose, your energy becomes unstoppable. So take a look at your life, not just your results, but your focus. Because your outer world is always a reflection of your inner priorities. The harvest you're getting is from the seeds you've been watering. And if you don't like what's growing, it's time to redirect your attention. Because where that goes, your energy, your strength, your future will follow. You don't have to tell people you've changed. You don't need to explain that you're working on yourself. You don't need to post every achievement, every gym session, every late night of study. Because real growth, the kind that sticks, doesn't need an announcement. It shows. People may not see what you're doing behind the scenes, but they feel the result. They notice when your words become sharper, when your presence becomes stronger, when your decisions come from wisdom instead of emotion. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense the shift. And that's what matters. Because people don't respect noise, they respect transformation. You see, when you really grow, it becomes part of your posture, part of your energy, part of how you carry yourself. It's not a script you rehearse, it's a rhythm you live. You speak with more purpose, not because you're trying to impress, but because your words now carry weight. You listen more, not because you've run out of things to say, but because you've learned the value of silence. That kind of growth is undeniable. It's not loud, but it's powerful. And here's the thing, people might forget what you say, but they'll never forget how they feel around you. When your growth starts radiating through your actions, through your discipline, through your calm, people take notice, they lean in, they respect it. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. You don't have to demand respect when you've earned it through transformation. You don't need to convince anyone when your life already shows the work. The way you handle challenges, the way you speak about others, the way you honor your own standards, that becomes your reputation. And real growth, it creates quiet confidence, not arrogance, not ego, just a steady knowing that you're becoming the kind of person you can be proud of. And when you walk into a room with that kind of energy, people feel it. They may not know your journey, but they feel your evolution. So focus less on proving you're growing, and more on actually growing. Because when the roots are deep, the tree doesn't need to shout. People respect growth, they can feel. Let your life do the talking. Oh, only get so much time in this life, so many hours in a day, so many days in a year, and once they're gone, they're gone. You can't rewind. You can't get a refund. So the real question becomes, what are you doing with the time you've been given? Because every moment counts. Every moment is a seed, and what you choose to plant determines the harvest you'll get. And here's the truth. Every moment you spend talking about people instead of purpose, drifting into gossip instead of growth, that's a moment stolen from your own greatness. You see, gossip may feel like a small thing, a harmless conversation, but it's not. It's a distraction dressed up as entertainment. It pulls your energy outward, toward judgment, comparison, criticism, when that energy should be going inward, toward your own improvement. You weren't put on this earth to be a spectator in someone else's life. You were meant to build something. Your mind was built to create, not complain. Your voice was meant to speak life, not spread drama. And your time, that's the most valuable thing you've got. Spending it tearing someone down does nothing but slow you down. People who gossip aren't moving forward. They're circling the same conversations, the same bitterness, the same complaints. You want to grow? You want to succeed? You've got to rise above that level. You've got to protect your time, your energy, and your standards. Because while others are talking about who did what, you could be learning a new skill. While they're arguing about who's to blame, you could be taking responsibility and getting better. While they're focused on someone else's story, you could be writing your own. The person you want to become, the life you want to live. It's not found in gossip. It's found in growth. It's built in silence, in discipline, in moments where you choose to stay out of the noise and tune into your purpose. So next time you hear that tempting conversation, stop and ask yourself, is this helping me become who I want to be? Because every moment spent on gossip is a moment stolen from your greatness. And your greatness deserves every second you've got. There comes a moment in life when you finally realize you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Not your worth, not your intelligence, not your success, not your choices. You see, too many people are living their lives like a performance, constantly trying to meet someone else's expectations, trying to impress the crowd, trying to win approval that, truth be told, they don't even need. They wear the right clothes, say the right things, chase the titles, buy the car, post the highlight reel, all to prove they've made it. that they're enough, that they matter. But here's the truth. You already matter. You were never meant to live for validation. You were meant to live with purpose. And there's a world of difference between the two. When you live to prove something, your life is reactive. It's exhausting. Because no matter what you do, it's never quite enough. You hit one goal, and someone still has something to say. You make one decision, and there's always a critic. You grow, and suddenly people feel threatened, not inspired. But when you stop chasing validation, something amazing happens. You get your power back. You start making decisions based on what's right for you, not what's popular. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't even trying to understand. You start building a life that feels good on the inside, even if it doesn't impress everyone on the outside. And here's the secret. Those who truly know who they are don't need to prove it. They live it. Quietly, confidently, consistently. So if you're on a journey of healing, of building, of starting over, walk it with your head high. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to answer every question. You don't need to win every argument. Just keep growing, keep learning, keep showing up. Because at the end of the day, the only person you really need to prove anything to is you. And once you realize that, you become unstoppable. We all love the spotlight, the applause, the recognition, the moment when everything finally clicks, and the world sees what you've built. But let me tell you something real. Champions aren't made in the spotlight. They're made in the shadows, in the stillness, in the seasons when no one's watching. The quiet seasons. They don't look exciting. They're not glamorous. There are no cameras, no cheers, no pats on the back, just the early mornings, the long nights, the self-doubt, the small wins that only you see. And yet that's where the magic happens. Because the quiet seasons test you. They strip away the noise. They ask you one question again and again. How bad do you want this? And you find out real quick whether you're chasing attention or chasing purpose. Whether you're in it for applause or in it to become something great. It's in those moments when you're training alone, studying while others sleep, choosing discipline over comfort. That's where the real work is done. That's where character is built. That's where resilience is forged. And that's where champions are born. You see, anyone can show up when it's easy, when it's loud, when it's fun. But it takes a different kind of spirit to keep going when it's quiet, when progress feels invisible, when no one's clapping, and yet you still show up. And here's what separates the few from the many. The few respect the quiet seasons. They don't rush them. They use them. They understand that the silence is not a punishment. It's preparation. It's the soil beneath the surface where strong roots take hold, so that when the time comes, when the spotlight finally does hit, they're not surprised. They're ready. So if you're in a quiet season right now, don't lose heart. Don't think nothing's happening just because no one sees it. The work you're doing, the discipline you're building, the mindset you're sharpening, it all counts. It's all stacking. Keep showing up. Keep pushing forward. Keep building when no one's clapping. Because champions aren't made when the world is watching. They're made when it's just you, the grind, and the decision to keep going anyway. There's a point in life when you realize, competing isn't the answer. It never was. Too many people spend their days chasing the wrong race. They're running alongside others, measuring their success by the person next to them, constantly comparing and competing. They look at what someone else has and think, I want that too. Or worse, they think, I'm not enough unless I have that. But here's the truth. When you're busy competing, you're not creating. And when you're not creating, you're not growing. You're stuck in someone else's story, in someone else's timeline, in someone else's path. And that path, it's never going to be yours. The moment you stop comparing your journey to someone else's and start focusing on your own creation, things begin to shift. You start to realize that your talents, your ideas, your unique perspective are enough. They're more than enough. They're the keys to unlocking everything you've ever dreamed of. Stop trying to outrun everyone around you. Stop measuring yourself against their progress, their success, their possessions. That race will never end. And in the end, it only leaves you exhausted, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Instead, turn your energy inward. Start creating from the place where your true potential lies. Start building, not to outdo anyone, but to become someone. Create because it feels right. Create because it speaks to who you are. Create because it speaks to who you are. Create because in doing so you start aligning with your purpose. When you choose to create, you're not bound by the expectations of others. You're free to build according to your own vision, your own dreams, your own timeline. And when you focus on your own creation, whether it's a business, a skill, a piece of art, or a relationship, something incredible happens. Everything aligns. Your energy flows toward what matters most to you. Opportunities appear, not because you're chasing them, but because you've shifted your attention to your own development. The right people start showing up, not because you're seeking validation, but because you're offering something of value. Creation doesn't compete, it attracts. It pulls everything you need into alignment, because it's not rooted in fear or scarcity. It's rooted in abundance. When you're creating, you're saying to the universe, I trust that there's enough for me, and I trust that what's meant for me will come. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop looking sideways at what others are doing, and instead focus on what you can do, you start realizing your full potential. You stop feeling like there's a limited amount of success to go around. You start realizing that there's a limitless field of opportunities waiting for you to explore. All you need to do is create and trust that everything will fall into place. So stop competing. Stop measuring yourself against the progress of others. Stop chasing a finish line that isn't even yours. Start creating. Start building. Start making. And watch how everything your mind, your life, your opportunities, begins to align in the most remarkable way. Because the moment you stop trying to prove yourself against others, is the moment you finally get to prove your greatness to yourself.